It's James Murray. Joining us by telephone in the NetNewsLedger newsroom is Charlie Angus. Charlie Angus is the Member of Parliament for Timmins, James Bay, and he's the NDP critic for Indigenous and Northern Affairs. Charlie, welcome to the newsroom.
Hey, great to be on the program.
Charlie, what on earth is going on with child welfare and this government?
Well, the child welfare system is so badly broken in terms of Indigenous children that the numbers of children who are being taken from their homes exceeds by far anything that happened in the residential school years. We know that in the provincial child welfare systems, if a family is having trouble, they tend to support the family. It's a lot cheaper to put support in the home to help the family than take the child out and ship them out to some other community. Well, in Indian affairs, the children are being taken out all the time. So we have a huge problem. We have a broken system. It's underfunded. But the bigger issue is that we have a human rights tribunal ruling that after 12 years of investigation, they found Canada is systemically discriminating against Indigenous children. They've ordered the government to close that gap on child welfare and health and education. And this government's ignored two compliance orders by a human rights tribunal to actually fix the issue. So I'm actually sort of dumbfounded that the Prime Minister, who's said that his repairing the relationship with Indigenous peoples is his first priority. He's the Minister of Youth. How does the Minister of Youth get away with fear and he can ignore two compliance orders from the Human Rights Tribunal to end discrimination against youth and children?
Now, Charlie, just to be very clear, you're talking about Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, not Prime Minister Harper.
This is what people need to understand. The decisions that are being made and to be not in compliance with the child welfare, with making sure that children are getting the proper medical services that they're being denied. This is being done under this Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. And I've been told many times, well, it was the previous government that did this, that, and the other. Yeah, we know that. We know what Stephen Harper did and did not do in terms of this issue. But we also know what the previous government to him, that Paul Martin did and did not do. The fact is, the bill has come due. It's up to this government to respond, and this government said that they would take this issue on, but we're seeing no money started to flow on education, and the school year started. They promised $50 million for post-secondary education this year. No money's flowed. They said the 2% cap that has crushed so much economic development in communities that was lifted, and it's still on in all manner of services. So we have a disconnect. We have a Prime Minister who seems to think that if he says really, really positive stuff, positive things will happen. But we know, especially with Indigenous communities, that positive things are only going to happen if we actually sit down and do the work and make it happen.
Now, we've had some kind of shocking news in Thunder Bay that relates to third-party and co-management by the Department of Indigenous and Northern Affairs with charges laid by the RCMP. What would you comment on that?
Well, I don't know the particulars of the investigation, but I can give a few general observations of my deep, deep concern. Number one, there's this belief that, if bands can't handle their finances, we'll bring in experts who will do it for them. Well, those experts who are brought in can take enormous power away from a band. I do know that in this case, at one point I was asked to help find where the band's funds were being spent. What kind of accountability when you take entire communities' funds and put it under a third-party manager or this co-manager who can make all manner of decisions, and the band doesn't even often know where the money's being spent and it's their money. That should be raising huge red flags. In this particular case with Saskatchewan, the allegations that it was a defrauding over claims for year after year, a child nutrition program at the grade school. I can tell you, like in the Cross Treaty 9, we have children going to school hungry on a daily basis because of the high cost of food. It's absolutely mind-boggling that we'd have a situation where someone was defrauding a program that was meant to make sure that those children get fed. So I really hope that the police investigation is as thorough as possible, and we got to find out how this kind of co-management deal could have gone down without any proper oversight from the department or from the community.
Now, what I remember was when Attawapiskat was put into a third-party management, and one of the first things the third-party manager did was order some mobile homes that, honestly, the community had already ordered.
Yeah, I mean, the people learned a lot about these third-party managers from the debacle in Attawapiskat when the government imposed a third-party manager, actually not because there was problems with the band funding. All the band funding was accounted and actually online. This was a political decision by the government. We saw with Robert Knowles, who's back in Parliament. I do believe that the people in Pakanchikam went to court over him imposing third-party managers. So third-party management strips a community of all their basic democratic rights, all their decision-making, and puts it in the hands of somebody who's charging often, $180,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year, just to cut checks. So if this process is in place, the band finances better be absolutely spotless when you get rid of that co-manager. But often we see it's almost like a vampire relationship on the community where these co-managers come in and they make a lot of money, but where's the accountability?
Charlie, overall, with your tour over the summer, getting into the north, talking to people, are things getting better?
I think there's a sense of optimism in Canada. The Prime Minister, certainly Justin Trudeau, I give him a lot of credit. He brought a lot of optimism, but people are expecting follow through now, and people are going to get pretty upset if all this positive talk just leads to more of the same old, same old, same old. In terms of the North, I have some serious concerns. We have a government, this government, Justin Trudeau's government, canceled all the rural broadband projects that were set to go. Well, rural broadband is essential in Northern Ontario. It's going to be a lifeline for families and for business. FedNor, we're not seeing any movement on FedNor, and it's been starved of funds for years. And we need that economic development because, we're not looking for handouts in the North. We have really great ideas and people. We want to keep our people in the North. Then we have other issues like, the Ring of Fire goes on year after year after year of talk, but where's the plan to sit down with the Indigenous communities, make a plan, make sure that these communities are getting out of poverty, and make sure if we're going to do something, we're doing it sustainably. And we haven't even got to that part yet because we have two levels of government who seem to think the North is not really something that's on top of their radar.
Now, often, people complain in big cities about the speed of internet, but I was talking to a young lady up in a northern community last spring, and she said we can't even watch Netflix because it pauses every 5 minutes for 15 to 20 minutes to catch up if you watch at 3 in the morning. What can we do to speed the North up on its internet?
Well, we need a serious internet investment project. I am dealing in the Northeast, and I know it's the same in the Northwest. I'm dealing with businesses who are going under because they bought a business believing that they would be able to deliver services, and they can't. I've got families who can't afford to pay their satellite bills because, their kids come home from college and want to watch a little bit of, Netflix, and the bills are outrageous. I had a daughter who lived in Rwanda in Africa for a year, and she told me she had better download rates in rural Rwanda than you get in Northern Ontario. That shows you how far we're falling behind.
So we've got a lot of work to do.
We've got a lot of work to do, and I think Northerners got to realize, we've got now a bunch of new Liberal ministers and MPs from the North. You got to get them to speak up on the issues. It's not just that they get to ride around in the limo and be in all the fancy photos. Their job, number one, is to stand up for their region, stand up for their communities. And, I'll work with anybody from any party on improving lives of people in our region. But the work's got to get done, and just being nice about it and getting a lot of selfies and that doesn't cut it. We got to actually get down and do the work.
Charlie, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us. Let's do this again real soon.
We will definitely do it again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlie.